I've been making Minecraft videos on YouTube for close to 2 years now, and in that time, I've made quite a bit of stuff. And even though I am literally the coolest person to ever exist, sometimes my ideas are just plain garbage. There's been quite a few times I've sat down to make an epic Minecraft minigame, and the idea's just so bad I've had to scrap the entire thing. So why don't we look at some of them? I don't know if anyone has ever noticed this, but this ginormous building over here with all like the cliffs and stuff, this is one giant minigame which I've just never shown before. It has been lurking in the background of my videos for like ever since the start of my channel. I've just never shown it off. And part of the reason why is I have no idea if it's even any good. I've never actually played this before. I built it, all the redstone works, I've never played it though. And part of the reason why is it requires 6 people to play. You see, it's a 3v3 minigame. You got the blue castle versus the red castle. But I guess I just never had 6 people to play it, which is kind of sad. The game is essentially about capturing these 3 control points. We've got A, B, and C, and the 2 teams fight over it. Let's say I'm on the red team. I walk up to this control point and it's white for neutral, so no one owns it. If I hit this button, it'll switch to a color. So I'm on red team, it's switched to red. But let's say I'm on blue team and I need to recapture this point. Now when I walk up to it, I can press either one of these buttons and it will switch back to blue this time. I made this years ago, so the redstone's kind of crap. But the game actually had a tiny bit more complexity than that. You see, if I go into the red spawn, let's say I'm on the red team, I would respawn in these red beds. And then when I walk through the door, it auto-equips me with my team's color. I then get a choice of what class I want to play. We have swordsman, archer, demolition, and spy. My idea was to create like different classes which would counter each other. So for a swordsman, you just get given an iron chestplate, an iron sword, and a shield. So this is what you'd look like. Well, if you was to choose demolition, you would instead not get armor, but you get an axe which would counter the shield, and you get a crossbow for fireworks, hence the demolition part of it. An interesting one is the spy. You see, this one actually equips you with the other team's colors, but unlike the swordsman, you only get a stone sword. And of course, when you leave your team spawn, the fence is brought back up behind you so you can no longer go in. Although I guess if you had a bow, you could maybe spawn camp, which is a bit mean. Didn't think of that. How you win the game is you need to get your light to the finish line. So we've got a bar for red and a bar for blue. And because there's only 3 points, someone will always have the majority. So in this instance, blue has the majority, and thus their score is slowly ticking up. However, if we were to quickly change the tide and turn at least 2 of the points to red, red would instead start getting points. Hey, look at that, see? And then whoever gets to the finish line finishes. But it's been just lurking in my testing world for years at this point, so I don't know what to do with it now. So another minigame I was working on, but sort of abandoned, was a cooking minigame where it was supposed to be a 2v2 where you run 2 competing restaurants with one another. Unfortunately, I stopped working on this one because Tango Tech released his own version of a cooking minigame around the same time as me, and I just thought that people would call me a copier, even though mine was different, so I just abandoned it based on that. But the idea is essentially, I have this machine here which can generate an order. So if I hit that, this will generate me an order. This person wants bread, pumpkin pie, and a bottle of honey to wash it down. Now how the minigame is supposed to work is, in teams you need to gather these items and put it in a shulker box. A shulker box sort of acts as a plate. So this would be our order. You then grab that shulker box, put it in the machine, and it will now evaluate, was your order correct? And see? Yay! We got a ding, that means the order was correct. I was more inspired by something like Overcooked 2, where it's more weird and fantastical on how you actually get the cooking elements. I graphed it all out on this thing I'll show on screen. But for example, the way you'd get eggs is not from one chicken, but this giant chicken that you'd have to throw tridents at to stab, and then he would lay eggs. That's meant to be an egg. The way you get wheat is by using the eggs, is that you would then use the eggs to throw at the target blocks, and depending on that would be how much wheat is dispensed on this machine. Another one I had is turning water to honey. You see, you'd have an infinite amount of water in this minigame, but to get it to honey, you'd have to insert a water bottle into this honey making machine. The light starts at the bottom, and you then have to slowly work it up as you turn that water into honey. boom, we get a honey out of it. And Tango Tech released his version, so I just had to abandon it because I thought people were just going to accuse me of copying, and I want to be unique, damn it. Okay, this next one requires a bit of backstory. On me. You see, back in 2020, during the pandemic, I was locked indoors at university with nothing to do, and 4chan had just released a new image board called VM, for video games multiplayer, and on there I came across a 4chan Minecraft server called VCraft. I had never really played much Minecraft before that point, but little did I know that server would consume my entire life for the next 2 years. On there, I met friends, built countless amounts of guff, and most importantly, finally understood what makes Minecraft so great. Oh boy, it's been a while since I came here. This was my first survival base I ever built on a multiplayer server back on VCraft, and this is a theme park dedicated to minigames. Yes, I have really been making minigames even before YouTube. In fact, many of the minigames present in this base later became videos of mine. Over here we have Dodgeball, over there we have Scrabble, over here we have Overflow, here we have Hungry Hungry Hawks, my Basalt Spleef, that's the Bowman Blitz, there we have Golf and Run and Joust and Jeopardy, which I showed in my last video. I have been basically ripping myself off for the past 2 years. But one minigame I have never shown before is Death Run. This is of course based on the Gmod game mode Death Run, which I'm sure many people have put in like Fortnite creative mode or whatever. But the idea is there is a hunter and a runner. The runners need to get past all these nefarious traps and get to the end, and then they get to kill the hunter. This was in 1.16 where soul speed was brand new, so what we can wear is these soul speed things to run faster between each trap. We also made it so when you activate a trap, this light turns off so the runners know when a trap is disabled, and a lever falls off so they can't reactivate it. And of course, each trap does its own thing, like departing the platform, or raising it up and pushing you off, or just opening up and moving about. This one's quite interesting. If you activate this one, the entire floor goes downwards, and then there are skeletons behind fire which shoot them all to death. While this one, we actually had to nerf by putting a safe space in the middle, because this was too mean. When this one's activated, the floor raises up and pushes you into lava, and this one was too deadly. But if you do manage to get through all of that, you finally get to the goal, you can hit a button which dispenses a sword, vengeance, and then you can run and kill the hunter. What you're looking at here was my base on the VCraft server. I spent countless hours building this thing meticulously, and it's huge. And VCraft as a server meant so much to me, because it is where I fell in love with the video game Minecraft. But eventually, 1.17 and 1.18 updated Minecraft, and it meant that the game needed to be reset, the world needed to be changed, everything was changing. So all this base and everything I had built eventually had to go. After the 1.18 Minecraft update, the world needed to be reset, and while the server continued to exist for a couple months, it was bleeding players because it wasn't the same. In fact, VCraft still exists today and you can find the IP online. However, I'm the only person online. The other person is a robot. He's not real. So I'm left alone in this world of something which I truly loved. It made me fall in love with the game. And my final base on the VCraft world was once again a theme park. It started with one and it ended with one. In fact, this is the minigame you can see earlier. I built it, but that's why I never got to play it, because the server died. But while VCraft was slowly dying, it was then that I decided to start a YouTube channel and try my hand at making videos, which has obviously worked out for me and I'm really appreciative. But I always think back to VCraft because this is where I got my start. This is my villain origin story. But that brings us back to the present. Is the most recent project I have utterly abandoned. You may have noticed these giant nuclear cooling towers in the background of some of my videos, and this is what this is. It's a giant abandoned project. You see, I had this idea of recreating the FPS shooter Counter-Strike within Minecraft, and the first thing I did to achieve this is I made a playable map. This is inspired off the Counter-Strike map Nuke, I chose it because it's my personal favorite, and also because the rooms are kind of boxy, so I thought it'd work in the game. What I'm going to do as I talk about this is just like walk around the map, and I'll do like a side-by-side with the real game. Counter-Strike is of course a very popular first-person shooter, which dates all the way back to the late 90s, based off an original Half-Life mod. It's a really popular game, but I don't know how much audience overlap there is with Minecraft. So I was putting all this work in to make this map. I literally made this map over 3 days, and I wouldn't even know how much audience interest there'd be at the end of it. I'm sure if I made something like Fortnite in Minecraft, that would work, but for now it's just going to be left abandoned, which is a really sad way to end a video. Bye!